Today on Pro Church Daily, we're talking about the 20X church mission field.
Well, hey there, and welcome to Pro Church Daily, the show where in 10 minutes or less, you're going to get a daily dose of tips and tactics to help your church share the message of Jesus while we try and navigate the biggest communication shift that we've seen in the last 500 years. I'm your host, Alex Mills, joined as always by the boss man, it's Brady Shearer, and today we're talking about the 20 times church mission field.
In 2009, Alex, a company called Disney, don't know if you're familiar with them.
Briefly familiar.
Made an acquisition for the franchise of Marvel for $4 billion.
Okay.
Similarly, in 2012, also for $4 billion, Disney purchased another franchise called Star Wars.
So Disney seems to have like a little bit of disposable income.
Little disposable income, little bit of influence, and right now they're in the proposition acquisition process of acquiring 21st Century Fox for right around $50 billion. A lot of billions.
Yes.
Disney has many theme parks, as we all know. It also sells consumer products, action figures, the like. Mm-hmm. And yet, despite all of this, and despite Disney's current market valuation of about $148 billion, it was reported this week by Bloomberg that a small startup company that is only 11 years old, known as
Pro Church Tools.
Pro Church Tools.
No, not quite.
Known as Netflix.
Oh, okay.
A company that started by sending you DVDs through the mail.
Right.
Has a greater market valuation in 2018 at $153 billion,
Wow.
greater than that of the colossal, gigantic, majestic beast that is Disney.
Wow.
And this is just another amazing, remarkable example of the world that we are living through. Mm-hmm. The biggest communication shift in the last 500 years. Yeah. The fact that a company that's just about a decade old, that has a single product, a single streaming service, because they're no longer actually sending DVDs in the mail, a single streaming service that costs and charges its users about $10 a month, could overcome in market valuation a conglomerate like Disney.
It's incredible.
Is the perfect demonstration of the crazy culture that we are living in currently. Now, there are a couple disclaimers to make, that being that Disney is wildly more profitable than Netflix, and that's a necessity. If you are trying to take down Goliath, you've got to spend like crazy. Right. You cannot become the size that Netflix has without spending like crazy, and they've been running a deficit for a while. And they're also the caveat that Disney is planning on launching its own streaming service, and that it could, and very well likely, could overtake Netflix once again.
Right.
The point isn't really who is leveraging the communication shift. The point is the communication shift, the medium itself, not who's leveraging it. Mm-hmm. Because for Disney to now overtake Netflix once again, they're going to need to play the same game that Netflix is playing.
Right.
What's happening is that you have a 10-year-old startup that is forcing one of the biggest media companies in the history of America and the world to shift its entire content strategy to keep up with the small upstart.
Incredible.
Now, at this point, Netflix is not a small upstart, but they're also only a decade old. And they're just one of the many companies that did not exist 10, 12, 15 years ago, along with Facebook and Airbnb and Uber. And what's fascinating about these communication shifts is that at the end of the day, Amazon should not have had the upstart and the head start on Walmart and on retail. And Netflix should not have had a head start on Blockbuster.
Yeah.
And small digital media and digital photography companies should not have had the upstart on Kodak. All of these companies, these big conglomerates, Walmart and Blockbuster and Kodak, they should have been able to see what was coming and adjust as necessary. But this is kind of the crux at what I'm trying to get at. Is that when things have been working for you for a very long time in a certain way, it's very difficult to make a change.
Especially in church, you get into a rhythm at church, you get into a system of doing church, what your Sunday mornings look like, and things are going well, and you're seeing results. Maybe you're seeing increased numbers at your life groups, or you're seeing salvations, or whatever metrics you're tracking, and so you realize, oh, this is working, and then you just keep doing that for a while, and so maybe it's 5 years, maybe it's 10 years, 15 years, but you've had your head down for so long just doing the same old stuff that you look up for a second and, oh, the world is way different than it was 10 years ago when all that stuff was working. And not to say that any of that stuff is inherently wrong, but there's new opportunities. Like Netflix couldn't have existed or even succeeded 15 years ago or 20 years ago.
Correct.
But, they came in with this timely medium of streaming and took an opportunity, and the success, the raging success of Netflix, and it's reflected in these numbers, is just, it's outstanding. It's incredible. And these other companies that have had a lot of success, like the ones you mentioned, Walmart, Disney, Blockbuster, they had a good thing going, but because they weren't open to evolving with technology, they kind of got left in the dust. And that's what we're seeing in so many industries right now is, all of these what were major players in these major markets are reeling and scrambling and trying to figure out how to catch up because, they just kind of got left behind in the dust a little bit. And so all the more reason to always be looking ahead and making use of all these great opportunities we have because of technology to share our message. And so for church, it's the message of Jesus. And for Netflix, it's, rom-coms or whatever.
Lost in space.
Yeah, and for Amazon, it's sending toilet paper to your house. But it's like, whatever it is, technology is making a way for us to do this differently and oftentimes better. And so this is an incredible opportunity we have before us today.
Here's the bottom line. Churches are not immune to this change.
No.
And one easy way of showing this and demonstrating this, the title of this episode of Pro Church Daily is The 20X Church Mission Field. So let's look at a little bit of data. In the year 2000, only about 5 in 10 American adults were online. And the average time spent online per American adult was 9.4 hours. You fast forward to 2017, and that number has ballooned to an average of 23.6 hours spent online each week. And 17.6 of those hours are at home. So we spend a lot of time at work online, but in our home hours, an average of almost 18 hours every single week. And now more than 9 in 10 American adults are online. And so if you consider that, the average person that's attending church maybe comes once every other week. And so if we're being generous, let's say that every single week, the average person in your congregation is spending 1 hour in your church. They're spending about 20 times more of that time online.
Yeah, somewhere else.
20 times more hours, 20 times more time elsewhere than in your church. And that means that the mission field of digital and online is greater and unrivaled and unprecedented in any other area in human history. We have the chance to reach people where they are.
Yeah.
And if we're not able to do this, what's going to happen is that we're going to look back in 10 years at the missed opportunity. Because right now, we are pioneers in a new land.
Yeah.
We just landed, and we didn't, and in 50 years, Malibu real estate is going to be a lot more expensive and valuable than it is right now. But we can be the early movers. And when I say early movers, it's 2018. It's not that early.
Yeah.
But in the scope of history and decades, this still is early.
Yeah.
This is not going away. This is the beginning. This is the precipice of this change. And if we're not able to evaluate the way that we're doing church and the way that we're accomplishing our mission statements, helping people to love God, love others, and make disciples, if we're not willing to reevaluate and make significant changes, we're not going to be able to get to where we need to go. And we're going to look back with regret. This is why we need more church planters and more people willing to do experimental things that maybe older churches, for better or for worse, are not able to do because change is difficult. I don't think it's unfair to look at all the companies that are massive that we're unable to make changes and think there are going to be so many churches that are unable to make those changes. So we need people that are forcing this and pushing the limit, because if we don't, if we just stay, resting on our laurels, and if we stay okay with the status quo, we're going to be in vulnerable positions.
Yeah, and we don't want to look back in 10 years with regret on 2018 and this time period, because as far as the mission field is concerned, because right now with all the information we have, and we talk a lot about statistics on this show, but we know where the people are, right? And so it's not a guessing game. It's not like we don't know and we'll look back in 10 years and say, oh, hindsight's 2020, if only we would have known then. No, we actually do know now. We know where people are spending their time on the internet, and we know how to reach them through Facebook ads and through all these free social tools. And it's cheap now. Who knows what it's going to look like in 10 years? And so now is the time. You have all the information that you need. You have all the stats that you need. Everything is available to us now. And we're well informed enough now that we're not going to be able to look back in 10 years and be like, well, we just didn't know. Actually, we do know.
Time to move. That'll do it for today's episode of Pro Church Daily. We'll see you next time.
Hey, thanks for watching this episode of Pro Church Daily. Make sure to subscribe to this channel so you never miss another video.
And if you like this video, go ahead, hit the like button.
Thanks.